Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Friday, July 18th, and hope you're ready for the weekend. Middle of the summer weekend's coming up. Yeah, gonna be a good weekend. So far, market is holding on to their gains, at least for the overnight, extended a bit. So I think the ES definitely looks like they have a potential move out of the middle starting. Now, this could also be turned into one of these just probe to the upside, which actually gets a knockdown. So today is going to be critical to see if they actually going to extend or not. So a pretty important day. We have right in the middle of earnings seasons or earnings season, and we have of course, a tariff and trade deal discussions going on full speed. So for being in July, it's pretty freaking busy. So we have a lot of stuff going on. They just passed the crypto bills and heading to Trump's desk. So I'm watching Coinbase popping again. So yeah, Coinbase went from like 200 is over $400 now. So a lot of value created on Coinbase right now. So uh, at this point, let me see the news this morning before we get started. First news. At 8:30 we get housing starts and permits. At 10 o'clock we get consumer sentiment. So not crazy stuff by any means. Maybe some more reactions, but I don't think that any changes any trajectories. So watching for news at 8:30 and 10. But I would start off on the long side and see if we can see extensions here. So I'm starting off looking to buy against this 63.40s, the 30, 32, 32, 33, the 25s here for rotations and back up again. This middle edge could be a little bit weaker. We'll see how strong that really is. It really comes from all the way back. This is the middle edge from all the way back here, that rotation up there. So it may or may not be very significant, but I would still leave it in there. So looking to buy against the 40s, against the 32, 33s, against the 25s for rotations back up. Now the trade back them down below the 25. Well, hang on, 25s, probably down below the 15s again. That's when you really take off the long bias. So that would be the last one to buy against the 15s. I dropped it just a little bit because you can see how the value from the reverse retest came all the way down here to the 63.10 to 12s. So I would say 10 to 12s here and maybe 10 to 15s if you want to be extending it a bit. But this is support area. If that comes out, we are getting knocked back right back down again. So 63, 10 to 15 means that we are trading down below value here again. So this overall outside the value area is the area to be tested on a reverse retest. Below that, I think we are heading right back into this lower range again. Let's see what happens. Sometimes, I mean, you never know how these things develop, but sometimes you get this overnight little pop to the upside, followed by a whole day of freaking selling. So it just depends on when some institutions may want to take profit. From what I'm hearing, though, I'm not seeing, I'm not, you never know really when it begins, but I haven't seen any red flags, anyone warning, or anything like that. It's been mostly, yeah, the big beautiful bill is passed, the crypto bills are passed, everything is working, everything is starting to hum along, and it really is. Probably a good idea to stay on the long side for now. So looking to buy weakness, 40s, 32, 33s, 25s, down to the 10 to 11 here, 10 to 12s for rotations back up. Below 10 to 12 here, take off the long bias, go back range bound. Still looking to buy against weakness on the way down, but not as aggressively at that point. All right, so that's kind of the way we are going to approach it. So this is the upper area we're paying attention to. On the way up, not going to be very aggressive on the short side at all. It's we are up here in territory where it's any short trade is going to be like a really quick scalp of an edge, like a quick F4 retest failure kind of a trade, but not looking for anything big. If to start backing off here, and it looks like the a little bit more volume, a little momentum than you may want to may like. You may try a short trade and see how far they want to try to push this on the downside. But unless we take out that 10 to 12, I'm going to stay on that early weakness buying mental or keep that early weakness buying bias, if you wish. All right, so that's the ES to get started this Friday. Bonds and the Nasdaq. Bond market is just smack in the middle here. They're not moving a whole lot. So looking at that guy, that's gold. That was gold. You see here on my bond chart. So bond chart, been down here probing at the lower edges. So far, looks like this. It looks like almost like a retest failure. Nice probe here on that on Wednesday, Thursday, probing down here at 1120 so far, and holding. So at this point, if this now is a retest failure trade, we may see this retrace right back up again. So still looking for shorts against the 12, 16, 17 and the 22, 23s. I'm a little bit more aggressive on shifting my bias back to the long side and see if they can retrace this back up again. Not necessarily looking for a big rally, but I mean, if this really holds now and these two resistance areas are taken out, I can see them run right back up in this upper range again. So it could very well be that they're just down there probing the edges as usual, as what happens when they go back and forth like that. So, and on the way down, they're going to buy against support 1206s, 12 even, the buck, 1122, 1116s for rotations back up again. If both these two comes out, 1116 comes out, bets are off. We are heading lower at that point. So let's see, a nice retest failure in 2 days in between. You can see those on any kind of time frame really, but it's when you're doing 2 days, both of them are trying to probe lower and failed. I think we have a decent opportunity for a potential retracement going on. So that's the bonds. NASDAQ, same story there. Pretty easy. Stay on the long side to get started. We are on the NASDAQ, we are in the move out of the middle to the upside. They have taken out resistance clearly and probing higher. So we'll see if NASDAQ can keep driving us higher, especially now when they have crypto stocks. You have the Coinbase has Circle. It's the stable coin stock, definitely on the way up, and they definitely a lot of value in those right now. And we'll see how far they can take it on the upside. So they're going to buy weakness 23 to 50s, 200s, 150s for rotations back up. I would say if this starts trading below the 100s here, that 4-letter edge, I'll take off the long bias. But at this point, all the way down here to that level down, 23,070 to 80, that would be this area. Okay, this is a little bit higher than that. So it's between these two areas. Remember, the F1 is aggregated, so it doesn't show exact same prices. But 23,100. Between these two support areas, so the first one at 140, second one at 23,070. Both of them comes out. I would take off the long bias and go back a range bound. But initially, I'm looking to buying against these support areas, the 250s, 200s, 150s down to that 23,080s for rotations back up. And let's see if I can stick to my own freaking analysis this morning. When it starts trading higher like that, as it did yesterday, and you step in front of it, you just can't get it out of your head. It's just a freaking death trap, Sometimes it works out great. If the market is range bound and you get probes like that, that's fine. But yesterday was one of those days which just kept grinding it. So that's just live and learn. That's the part of trading which makes it fun and also makes it very difficult. So starting off on the long side, not going to be very aggressive on a short side on the NASDAQ. Opportunities against 280s and the 300s on the NASDAQ. But as I said, no need to be super aggressive. If they run up there, and maybe try a short trade quick, but if it stalls something like this. But if it runs up, stepping in front of it very aggressively, unless the trade develops really quickly, I would just get out of it. That's a better way of handling it instead of trying to wait for the trade to develop. If you're taking a little bit higher risk trade, it better develop quickly or get out of it. Finally, oil and gold. And as you can see, oops, there it is. So oil and gold is to the upside. They're probing the upper edges right now. They're not quite broken out of anything, but there it is. Not quite broken out, but they're probing up in this upper area. So I would wait, and I would just look to fade the edges up to that level, the 80s now, 85s. So we like extended it a little bit, but you can see we got a nice 3-4 level edge up here. So I would look for short setups against the 65s, 70s, 75s, 84s, 84, 85, zero for rotations back down. But that's a little bit less aggressively when it trade out to the outer edges, but they're still looking for it. So they're always a big question is are they trending in a way where they're going to take it out, or are they just probing to the upside? And the only way you don't know. You just have to look for at each resistance area, look for a decent setup and a trigger, and if you see one, you can take it. Now, if you get run over once or twice, stop doing it. That's where the stubbornness come in. If you try it a couple of times and it doesn't work out, well, maybe the day is not going to work out that way. So stop doing what you're doing, right? And then finally, so trade the gold from the long side, at least to get started, and see if that early strength is going to turn into something. If the trade below that 50s, I'm taking off the long bias and going back flat out range, but then we're right back in this lower range again. So pretty aggressive on that change. 33.50, maybe 45. So these two support areas, they come out, take off the long bias. I would probably do it already after 50s. So. And then finally oil, and we have rolled this one to the September expiration right now, so we're trading U25. So far, they're not the big change. They adjusted it a little bit, but pretty much trading in this range on oil. So let me see my capital flow on oil. There it is. So we're trading September oil, and we are pretty much smack in the middle of the range. You can see that the mode has moved up here right now. So oil is holding around 66, 67 right now. They've been way down here for quite a while. We'll see. I'm just holding out for waiting for them to take this lower. Surprised that they're holding on to that. Not quite sure why that is, but I guess it could be the Ukrainian situation. Could be that for a while there was the Houthis making noise. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but there's some reason it's holding up here and not just starting to come crashing down. So supply demand, it could be a supply demand question as well. So maybe expectation of more demand since the economy is starting to hum along again. So, but anyway, looking at this point, just trade it in as a range band market. Sell strength up to the 68, 70 to 69, buy weakness down to the 64, and let's see if they're going to get a breakout somewhere. So at this point, looking to sell strength 67.50s, 67.75, 68.20, 68.60s for rotations back down. Last one would be up here at the 69s. And then looking to buy weakness down at this point, 67 would be aggressive, 66.20, 65.60s, 65.40s down to the 64.60s and the 64s for rotations back up again. So that's what we got to work with. So range bound oil at this point. Waiting for that piece of news of some sort. We're going to break it out of that range. We'll see what happens. Sometimes in the rollover, you're going to get the directional change, but we'll find out here in short order. So that's where we are, looking to trade oil range bound, start gold with a slight bias to the upside. Back to the ES, and that guy is pretty much holding where we left it. So key question for today is, are we going to get continuation to the upside, or are we going to see is this just a fake out or a one-off, and they're going to knock it right back in that lower range again? So we'll see. But we got a starting point, so let's start it and let's see what happens. Alrighty, guys. So good trading, and I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update. Alrighty, guys, later.